I want you to ask yourself when you're out hunting and you're accessing your favorite stand, how are you accessing that stand? And what I mean by that is, are you accessing that stand and turning around and watching right where you just walk through to hunt? Are you accessing that stand the same way you expect deer to travel to get by that stand? Are you accessing alongside of that access where deer walk by? So your deer walking over here, you're walking this way. All those are bad examples of how to access a tree stand. What I mean by that is, years ago, this one of the original concepts is to access your stand in a perpendicular manner, meaning you're accessing to the T of deer movement. What that does is it keeps yourself and your hunting pressure away from that line of movement as much as possible. So we have this line of movement. A line of movement is a connection of bedding to feeding. In this case, we have a smaller hunting plot, about 100 yards that way. Then we have about a 2-acre food plot. This way we have a water hole that's on a corner. Each one of those locations sets up a potential hunting stand for different winds. You know, food, for example, would be closer to afternoon, evening, and then those bedding area stands are in between, more morning. But each one of those features a line of movement. Now that line of movement might actually curve. You have a 40-acre woods. You might have water on the north side, and then as you go over to the northwest corner and the west side of your property, you might have a bedding area and then a food plot down to the south of there. So really what you're trying to tell the deer is that you want them to move between these attractions and these features, from water to bedding to food source, and maybe you put a small hunting plot in between the bedding area and a larger food source, and that's just creating and defining a line of movement. So when you come into those stand locations, the worst thing you could do is walk parallel to how the deer are coming into, and you're coming into a T of deer movement. This is a classic movement right here that we're on, and you can see this trail. It's a heavy trail moving through here, and then it's got other trails that come off to the side. And so this not only is a strong line of movement back and forth this way, but also there's a big bedding area on a point that comes out over here. And then on this side, it turns into bedding. So this gets very steep going down. So this is in the hill country, but this could be no different than if this was a creek system right here and it widened into an oxbow over here and over on that side, or it actually went into a brushy lowland on this side. The bottom line is, this is that narrowest point of movement. Maybe it's a thick blowdown area. Tornado went through and it created this beautiful thick cover that deer like to relate to when they're going through the woods, and it's a narrow movement and a funnel. And then you have a big open bedding area on this side, and maybe it expands out to a food source on the other. This represents that bow tie movement, where this is the middle of the bow tie and then it expands out on both sides. So the best way to access this is straight into it. So we want to come across the fields up here, come straight to there. I'm standing about 20 yards from where that stand location would be. What's really nice about a pass-through area like this that features perpendicular access, when I come into the stand, I have at least 180 degrees of potential deer that I haven't spooked in any way in front of me. I haven't walked alongside here. I haven't walked through this area and then turned around. I haven't come from this direction, turned around. You come to your stand location, and then you hunt the opposite side of your approach. By coming in perpendicular, you're keeping your scent, your sight, your sound away from this line of movement as much as possible. And what I find by that is, when you have this really strong movement, these deer are just moving along here. We'll put a mock scrape here, and Dylan and I were just talking about a mock scrape, and I see, Dylan, if you look at that there's a small tree behind you. We could bend that over to the one over to your right, over your left shoulder. We like to bend trees like that. It almost makes an arch, and then we just hang that mock scrape down. And for example, we could bring a step ladder into this location, stand on that step ladder. That tying point of that vertical mock scrape would be right about 8 to 10 feet high. Then we have about a 6-7 foot vine, and then that hangs right at waist level, right directly over the trail. We clear it out, and then you can see we have the reveal right behind us on the tree. And so it all sets up for, we get a really good look of every deer that comes through here. What I like about this setup right here is, we threw this up We haven't had a stand location here just because it's such a nice bench. We like watching what's coming through here. So threw it up, didn't really care too much about what we're going to spook. If I'm going to put the mock scrape right down there, I'm going to put that camera back here and about at this level, which is about 6 feet. The tree's already angled downhill. It clears this. We'll get rid of this vine. What I suspect is I don't like this vine right here, and if I didn't have a saw when I came down here to put that camera in, this will blow in front of that camera and keep getting a bunch of bad photos because it's right in front. So I'll get rid of the vine, put that camera right back here, face it to right where Dylan's at. Mock scrape would be right about that location. And then this camera is really well hidden because the profile is hidden by this trunk right here. So deer looking this way, up or down, this trunk is in front of the camera. The camera is about 6-7 feet. It's well off the trail. What's really nice about that is when those deer come through here, that tree happens to be at about maybe 18 yards. But even if that tree was 10 yards away, it'd still be a good one. You can see that tree right up there. And what's really nice about that is because you have this perpendicular access, you're accessing this strong line of movement. Other than the mock scrape, they come in and they're focused on that mock scrape. They're not focusing on the camera or us up in the tree. So you can even get away with a little bit more open cover. That's not ideally the perfect tree for a stand. You might want to be in one just a little bit bigger, but it's leaning the right way. It'll be a comfortable sit, and the deer won't have any clue we're here because we'll have wind blowing straight perpendicular. We can even blow it at a 45 here and there. So we can get away with 100 degrees of wind here and not worry about it. And in the morning hours, we can come across the fields right after daybreak and just zip right down here. And unless a buck is right here in this bow tie movement right in the middle, we're not going to spook it. So this is a really good setup, not just in general hunting wise, where it's that bow tie. We're coming in a perpendicular access right here, but it's just a really good setup all around for hunting morning bucks, waiting till after the field's clear, afternoon, evening. There's no food plot out there, food source. The big food plots are that way, water hole that way, bedding. So we're really in a good spot here to access this stand. The perpendicular access is critical to get in here. And then also setting this up for watching it, putting a mock scrape here, which we do at every stand location, getting a good picture of what's going to come through here during the summertime, all the way into the fall, during the winter months, when deer are in this area and when they're not, because when they come through here, a high percentage of the time they're on this bench. We're going to access it with a perpendicular manner, and it's a great access principle to apply to anywhere you hunt. Doesn't matter if it's on public land or private land. Identifying those food sources, bedding areas, how can you get in and out in a perpendicular manner so you come to a T of movement, and then you have that 180-degree window of non-spooked deer in front of you. And that's when good things happen during the hunting season. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. I really want to encourage you to check out digital land management through whitetailstrategy.com. These concepts that I manage for and that I go to clients, 1,600 clients in 26 states over the last 20 years, we're putting into a digital platform. So you can take those concepts and you can apply it to anywhere a whitetail roams. Doesn't matter if it's private land or public land. For example, on private land, you could take a food plot, add it to this location, see how it hurts you or helps you in the whole scheme of morning hunting, afternoon hunting, add a cabin, add a road, check out parking spots on public land where you think clear cuts are, and see how that affects your overall hunt with multiple properties in any state where whitetails are and where you hunt. Check it out, be some of the first to sign up. Check out whitetailstrategy.com, follow the link, sign up, answer the questions, and we can give you more when we have it available. Thank you.